So here we have a macro model where interest and parity consumption are going to be functions of the interest rate, but we still don't have endogenous taxation or imports. So in other words, imports and taxation are just given. So the first part then is, what is the multiplier? That's pretty straightforward. The multiplier when you haven't got endogenous taxation or imports is always just 1 over 1 minus C, the marginal propensity consumed, which in this case is 0.75. So that's 1 over 0.25, which is equal to 4. So that's part A, really straightforward. Part B then is going to be a little bit more long-winded. Well, we know that y is always equal to C plus I plus G plus net exports NX. And we're told various expressions for these things. So let's put them in. So we know y is equal to C. We're told C is equal to CO, some autonomous consumption, plus what you consume out of your disposable income, the marginal propensity to consume times your disposable income, plus some interest-induced consumption AO. So as the interest rate gets higher, you're going to consume less and less because of the minus sign. You're going to stick it in the bank and save it or whatever. So that's C. What about I? Well, we know I is equal to, in this case, some autonomous bit minus some interest responsive bit, BR. For the same reason, this is negative, because if you can get a better interest rate in the bank, say, you're going to do less investing and more saving. G is always just G, and then X is just NX. So if we solve this, we'll get our expression for y in terms of OR, which is what we want. So we've got a CY here, so we're going to take our CYs over to one side. We're going to get y minus little cy. It's going to be equal to CO minus little ct minus AR plus IO minus BR plus G plus NX. So let's take the interest rate parts aside and leave take. Okay, so first let's take the 1 minus C back over here. So we're going to have 1 over 1 minus C, because there's a 1 minus C in each of these divided across to get just y. And then we multiply it by everything that doesn't have to do with OR. CO minus CT, there's an AR, plus IO, there's a BR, plus G plus NX. And let's just put the OR term separate, so it's minus, so we'll take a minus out of each of these. Again, it's 1 over 1 minus C, because we've divided across this side by 1 minus C, not just the first term. It's a minus sign. And what have we got? Well, if we take a minus out of this, we're left with BR. But let's go further, or sorry, start with A, makes sense. Let's take minus OR out of this, so we get A, and here we get plus B, and of course at the end we'll stick the OR. Okay, so that's the answer to part B. You've expressed y as a function of OR and other stuff. Okay, so it's just like when you've just got I on its own and no investment here, or no interest rate bit in here, except more involved. So then what we want to do, part C, is to work out what y is. So we're just going to stick all the numbers we're told in. So y is going to be equal to the multiplier, which we know is 4, times this stuff here. So CO is 200, minus C is 0.75 times T, which is 60, plus G and NX, which are 100 each, and IO as well, gives us 300. So sticking all these three together, minus 4 times so A is 75 plus B, which is 50, times OR, which is 0.1. Alright, so put that all through your calculator, and you get y is equal to 1770. Okay. So once you have your expression for y, it's just a case of sticking in the numbers and being careful with the brackets and the negative signs on your calculator. So then part D, or the next three parts, give us a change in the interest rate. So they drop it from 10% to 5%. We want to find the change in equilibrium y. Well, we already have a way of doing that quickly. Let's get rid of that last bit. We just look at our expression for y in terms of OR and other stuff. You can see we already have, this bit tells us how much y is going to change when OR changes. Okay? So we know that delta y is going to be equal to, well, when OR changes, none of this bracket changes. This one does, so we get minus 1 over 1 minus c times a plus b times the change in OR. Okay. We already know all these numbers, so delta y is going to be equal to, this bit simplifies down to minus 500. Okay. And then the change in OR is going from 0.1 to going down from 0.1 to 0.5. Okay. Let's check something. Anyway, if it does that, the change in y is going to be equal to, minus by minus is going to give you a plus. This is going to be a 20th of 500, which is 25. Okay, so by dropping the interest rate from 10% to 5%, I think it says increases in the question, but going from 10% to 5% is a decrease. So doing that, it's going to stimulate demand for investment and also for consumption, because remember, consumption in this model depends a bit on OR. The investment does too. So by dropping the interest rate, we get people to consume and invest more. And well, y is equal to c and I plus other stuff. So if these go up, y has to go up. So that's why that's positive. The next part of that question then is how much would the government have to change G to offset this increase? Again, I think there's a typo in the actual question. Well, we don't need any of this anymore. Well, what does it need to do? Well, it needs to decrease y by 25. That's its objective. Right? Because it's gone up by 25 and they want to undo this. So to undo this, they have to do this, change their G so that it satisfies minus 25 is equal to 1 over 1 minus c times the change in G. We know what this is. This is 4. So it means that delta G is going to be equal to minus 25 divided by 4, which is going to be 6.25. Sorry, negative 6.25. So they need to decrease their government expenditure to offset this increase of y from the interest rate change. And then the final thing is to just do the same in terms of taxation. So again, they want to drop by 25. The taxation multiplier is minus c over 1 minus c times the change in taxes. We know what this is. This is 3. So it's minus 25, that is equal to minus 3 times delta t. So that means that the change in taxes is going to have to be positive 8.33. Okay, positive because you've got a negative here and a negative here. So to reduce demand, the government increases taxes.